All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me for my first webinar of 2025. It's been a really long while since I have done a webinar. That we have more than 80 of you in this session. So thank you so much for taking time off 7:30 p.m. on a Wednesday, 1 week to Chinese New Year, for joining this session. All right, so let's get started. So once again, today's session is very simple. We want to talk about Miles Make Simple, a beginner's guide to travel reward. And my name is Ivan. So for you guys, a bit background on myself first. Just give me a while I mute the background. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, this is once again me. My name is Ivan. I work in the payments industry with many of us here. I see from the payments industry as well. For the last 8 years, during post-COVID, and because of all my work in this industry itself, I got addicted to business class travel. Because of my work that requires me to fly up and down to Los Angeles pretty often. It doesn't have to be Singapore Airlines, but yes, because of that, I got addicted to business class travel. And right now, I cannot regress. I once took, and you guys will hear this, I once took, I think I took Jetstar to Kuala Lumpur, and I really, really regretted it. To the point where I decided to take Singapore Airlines back from Kuala Lumpur because I couldn't tahan the 45 minutes. So don't be me, but this is the premise of why we're doing this. Okay, and I'm doing this webinar purely out of fun and for a creative outlet. Okay, so to show you my credentials, sorry, just give me a while because I'm having technical issues. All right, back. Okay, so this is my badge of honor, ladies and gentlemen. My flighty passport. I think last year everyone started posting their travel history, and unfortunately I did not post it. But in case you guys are interested, since COVID, I started flying again in 2022. Since COVID, I did 65 flights all the way to last year, meaning in 3 years I did 65 flights. And you can see many, many long haul flights to the US and of course to Europe as well. 77% of them, as tracked by Flighty, is on business class. Shockingly, my most travel route is not from Singapore to anywhere, but actually from Kuala Lumpur International Airport to Istanbul. You can ask me why later. Only 3 flights on budget. That was when we first reopened borders. Never again. My favorite airline today is Starlux, and I'm forever grateful that Singapore Airlines now give the beautiful Le Labo for business class flight more than 7 hours. So if you guys have a chance to take SQ the next 6 months or the 1 year, amenities kit is now Le Labo, and it's amazing itself. Custom made for Singapore Airlines. Okay, so let's talk about today's agenda. But before that, I would like to give you guys a safe harbor statement and a disclaimer. So as always, this presentation is for information purpose only. I'm sharing personal experience. Please always seek your own financial advice if you are doing any financial planning. My wife is a great financial planner, which I'll talk about that later. On top of that, your own credit score, your own credit history affects all of this. And most importantly, do not spend where you cannot spend or unnecessary. We'll talk about that later on as well. I'm not asking you guys. This is not an invitation to apply for any credit cards. Nothing in this deck, and what I will send is a link to any credit card signups. I don't get a commission from a referral fee. I am not interested in being a referral commission for credit card signups. It makes no difference to my life. I'm very contented in my work. So this is purely for fun and also because I like doing presentation itself. Okay, let's move on. All right, today's agenda, 4 items. Now, we only have 50 minutes left. I want to give you guys the time back by 8:30. I unfortunately cannot cover everything, and I've seen so many amazing responses and questions. So we're going to try to keep the first area short and the next area heavy as much as possible. As well, so many of the questions came from my friends in the payments industry. You guys are expert, so I do not know why you are here, but thank you for your support. I think some of your questions are very, very technical to the point where I probably have to message you privately or even ask you for your advice. So I'm going to make the assumption that most of us are just getting started in a mouse game, and this is just a good set of refresher itself. Along the way, please feel free to take pictures of the slides. I'm more than happy to share with you this presentation deck after this over. You guys will be given a survey link to do a survey, and you guys can have this deck after that. Once again, more than happy for you guys to use it in any way you want as information purpose as well. Okay, so let's go with the first item. Cause I know too much. Now, this has nothing to do with what we are talking about today, but I think it's important to also shed and shine a light to the industry that I so love for the past 8 years, which is the payments industry. So the first thing I talk about is really the economics of why all of this is possible itself. Once again, if you're not interested in this, you can shut off, you can watch another YouTube video for the next 10 minutes. But for those of you who are interested in the business of why the payments industry is so awesome, let's deep down. Okay, credit cards is an amazing invention. All right, we have always been, to clarify, when I put the word 1950 as the birth of the credit card that you see on the deck right now, it doesn't mean that the idea of credit was invented in 1950. Yeah? The idea of credit, the idea of money, the idea of trading came all the way to the Chinese era, to when the Venetian, specifically the Marco Polo era, where they invented debit and credit to do credit balancing and provide trade financing itself. So the idea of giving a credit, is as old as about 500 to 600 years itself. For those of you who are really interested in this topic, I can always give you guys a book recommendation. It's called The History of Money itself. But we're interested in a brief history of the credit card. So largely speaking, we attribute the first idea of a credit card that we have today, like where you have a piece of plastic and you can go to somewhere, buy something on credit and pay back later, as Diners Club. Diners Club was created in 1950 in New York and provide a very easy way to go around to your favorite restaurant, buy on credit, and pay the restaurant back later via Diners Club. Now, that didn't last very long. All right. The reason why Diners Club couldn't grow was because there was no technology behind it. So in 1971, that was the start of the modern credit card era. Bank of America, today you and I will call it BAML, B-A-M-L, worked with IBM to introduce something called AmeriCard. AmeriCard, is a full invention. It took the original premise of what Diners Club provided and introduced so many of the things that you and I think about today in a credit card itself. Working with IBM, they created the idea of your PAN, that is your information, your 16-digit, at the point in time was 12-digit on your credit card to identify user. It put in the idea of expiry date as a safe check, and at the back of it, they also created the idea of the CVV as a credit check itself. And all of this was only possible in 1971 and not in 1950 because you had mainframes and computers that IBM was able to create to scale up the credit card program itself. Now, across the next few years, by the way, this AmeriCard eventually became something that a lot of us in this room today are working for, which is the Visa company itself. Now, along the way, as more and more Americans use the credit card, people started innovating around the credit card. And this is where we are here today. So the first idea of giving you something in exchange for using your credit card came from this company that most Singaporeans will probably not be exposed to, called Discover. Discover, very much like Visa and MasterCard, or American Express more specifically, is another credit card network that is specific in the US. It was started by an original Amazon called Sears, Roebuck and Company. It was eventually sold to Morgan Stanley, and today Discover runs by itself. But regardless, the idea was very simple. Discover, because they were a new competitor in the market, decided to give cashback. If you use the Discover credit card instead of the Visa credit card from Bank of America or the MasterCard from Citibank, you get 1.5% cashback at the end of the year. And that really opened up the idea of credit cards. So today, you and I, the credit card industry that you and I are trying to game the system itself is not something new. It was created more than 40, 50 years ago through multiple steps of innovation itself. So how do the credit card company make money? Now, at the end of the day, let's say you are buying a $100 item on Shopee or on Lazada or Amazon.sg in Singapore itself. You all know that there is a fee that goes somewhere itself. Some of their fee goes to what we call the card scheme. In this case, MasterCard, Visa. Some of the fee goes to the bank that have your name on the credit card itself. Some of the fees goes to the merchant bank itself. But who pays for all of this? It's obviously not you. You don't pay for all of this. At the end of the day, this whole thing about Miles is always paid for by the merchant itself. This is a merchant. The merchant is a person that you buy from that pay a fee to create this whole system itself. And this is why today you're seeing more and more companies giving you, say, 1% cashback if you use PayNow in Singapore itself, because it just makes sense. The fees they pay keeps going up. Now, the reason why we have this is that different merchants pay different fees. All right. How do we know how much fees a merchant pay? Well, it depends on so much things, right? It depends on the risk, the size of the business, the types of goods they sell, and whether is it an offline or online business. Now, I'm going to keep this short. If any of you are interested in joining the payments industry, we have a whole group of payments people here. Please feel free to reach out to me after this call, and I'll be happy to add you to all of this itself. But I'm going to skip this ahead and talk to you about the airlines first before we go to our real meat of the matter itself. Now, on the flip side, in 1981, American Airlines became the first company that decided to reward travelers, for using American Airlines more. Now, I want to clarify, 1981 was probably not when frequent flyer miles were created, but in general, American Airlines was the first major company that created a loyalty program so that if you fly American Airlines, they give you miles so that you can use it to exchange for other things. And this was once again only possible in 1981 because of the mass adoption of information technology, and also built by IBM itself. Now, in 2024, miles by itself is a larger business for most American companies and airlines itself. The red box from Bloomberg here is the value of the loyalty program. The blue box is the actual value of the company or the airline itself. In most cases, you see that there is a delta difference. Sorry, let me just go back here. There's a delta difference in here, yeah. That means that in most cases, the loyalty program for the airline makes more money than the airline itself. And it makes sense, right? The mile means nothing, yeah. Miles are created from thin air, yeah. If you can create something from thin air, very much like the idea of finance, you are able to make the most net profit margin itself. So combine all of this together into one picture, and we have the business of airlines and miles and your bank. So let me give you an example. In Singapore, when you buy something from Shopee and you use your favorite Citibank credit card, Shopee pays a percentage of the transaction to their payment provider. The payment provider will then split the money across multiple people. They will split between Bank A, the people who pass the technology, MasterCard or Visa, or the whole range of items itself. Now because you use a Citibank credit card in this transaction, and because Shopee did pay something to Citibank to use their credit card network that you have, okay, Citibank makes some money from you. And when you finally decide to use it as a redemption itself or to change it for miles itself, Citibank will then go to Singapore Airlines, in this case KrisFlyer, and say, hey, I'm going to pay you $10 for this amount of miles for Ivan Chang itself. So miles are not free. Someone is paying for it. Thankfully, in Singapore, most of the miles is not paid by us as an individual consumer. It's paid by the merchants. But just take note, this economics of it behind. And this itself, in Singapore alone, is probably a $650 million industry itself in miles generation, in transferring money between Citibank and all the banks to KrisFlyer and a whole range of industry itself. It's a really, really big finance industry by itself with multiple economics points behind it. Okay, so this is a brief history of miles, and obviously this is not why you are here. You're here for all the real stuff, which is what miles you should be using, what cards you should be using, and a whole bunch of other questions that you have as well. So let's really deep dive now into the economics of a mile. Okay, and I'm going to ask you a poll first before we get you guys up. I'm going to launch a poll now. So the first question that we're going to ask the poll, very simple. Let me see how to launch it. Oops, I need to end this poll first and then... Okay, launch. All right, so the question is very simple. Why do you want to collect miles? Okay, so if you guys can think, oh, nice. I see a lot of business class live. I want to fry for the things. It's truly amazing, yeah. Like when I realized that different people claim miles for different reasons, and obviously I claim miles because I only want to take business class where possible for flights above 7 hours. Okay, I will stop poll. I can't believe all of you have surveyed it. I'm going to end the poll now. And in case you guys want to see the results, you can see the results as well. So all of you have different reasons for collecting miles itself. But before we talk about, the way to collect miles, let's take a step back and be very mechanical and be very analytical about how a mile program is. So today, credit card rewards in general comes in three categories itself. Okay, this is not a official definition. This is how I look at credit card miles. Okay, the first one is nothing. Okay, if you use a debit card, for example, or if you have no choice but to use your company corporate card, in general, you don't get anything. Okay, so if you are using a corporate card right now, and for your purchase, but you can actually buy on behalf of your company and claim back, that clearly is a better objective for you than to use a corporate card. Most corporate card program and most debit card program in Singapore do not give you anything. So that's the most silly way to use a card, right? Because you don't get anything in return for using a credit card. You get some form of free credit financing because credit card statement comes 30 days after the statement month, and you got 21 days to pay based on MAS regulation in Singapore. But in general, you get nothing if you use a corporate card. I have a corporate card, and where possible, I try not to use it, even though there is a integration to my Concur system. But it's just not. If I can, I'd rather use my own credit card, and I can make some points in between and provide the company free financing along the way. So the second category a lot of us love to talk about is cashback. Okay, cashback is a very simple thing. You spend money, and because once again, remember that Shopee and all the other companies that you buy items from do have to pay some money to someone itself. They therefore give you back in a rebate. Okay, now with cashback card, your return is very simple. If the company say that you get 3% cashback, you get 3%. The calculation is fixed. This is what we call a fixed return card. Nothing can be more complicated. If you do not want to think too much and you do not want, you don't fly that much, a cashback card probably makes more sense for you as an individual consumer to use a credit card itself. Okay? Now, the third card that we are then focusing today's session on is the miles or point card itself. Today's class is not to go too technical. If you go into technical, we can go to 3 hours of this. But you get miles in exchange or points in exchange for the card spent. So you spend $1, you get some miles, and this miles can be used for something else. The blobber is this. This is what we call variable, correct? Because back in the problem is that the mile has a value, but it's very hard to calculate the value depending on different use case itself. So what do I mean by this? So let's try to first calculate how much a mile is worth. Okay, so I pull Singapore Airlines prices for you guys based on two different scenarios itself. Okay, I pull Singapore Airlines data for two scenarios itself. Let's focus on the first and let me explain to everyone in the orange box first, then we focus on the next box. So if you say, yes, Ivan, I'm committed to playing the mouse game and I like flying, I like traveling. So you want to take a flight to Tokyo. For some reason, I think every Singaporean is in Tokyo this year or last year itself. Now, if you want to take a flight to Tokyo, this is the current price. I checked December this year, it's a beautiful time. You should always go to Tokyo Disneyland. I heard it's amazing. I heard Fantasy Spring is one of the best Disneyland ever. You should definitely consider going there if you have the chance to. That's not a promotion, that's personal feedback. But jokes aside, this is the fare that you have to pay for it. Now, Singapore Airlines is charging economy fare, $719. This is the cheapest fare possible, yeah? Business class at 2,700, and let's ignore first class, okay? Most of us will not want to fly first class. Business class is great enough already. Now, if you don't want to pay for this fare, you can use miles. But how much miles do you need to redeem this? Well, the answer is this. The best case scenario is this. You can use 27,000 miles for an economy class flight, or you can use 52,000 miles for a business class flight. Once again, in both scenarios, these are one-way flight itself. And you have to pay $65.20 for airport tax that you cannot waive off itself. This is the general rule of the thumb, and it's just something that you pay itself. So, can we value the purpose of a mile? And the answer, ladies and gentlemen, is yes. We can value the value of a mile itself. If we take 719 minus away the 65, and you go and divide the amount by 27,000 miles, you get a mathematical number. And the answer is this. If you use miles and redeem for an economy class flight, each mile is worth 2.4 cents. If you use the same mile and redeem a business class flight, it is worth 51 cents itself. And of course, if you use it for first class, you get 82 cents itself, okay, which is very, very high. So you can see, right, between 24 cents and 82 cents is a huge margin itself. But that's not a better one. I think we should compare between 2.4 cents and 5.1 cents. Essentially, if you think about it, it seems a better position for you to redeem a business class flight if you're into that lifestyle, because you get a 2x multiplier or effectiveness on your miles itself. And the same goes. So we can look at my usual flight path that I usually take. I will use another color here, and that's in pink. Oops, sorry. Let me change to a square box. Singapore to Los Angeles, one of the most beautiful cities in the world. Probably not a good idea to go now, but hopefully you guys go back when LA is rebuilt from the fire that's currently engulfing the area. So a SQ flight from Singapore to Los Angeles, 15 hours 35 minutes on SQ32, on SQ32 or SQ26. It's a very, very long flight. It's 1,147 or 4,734 on Singapore Airlines itself. Same thing goes. If you do the same mathematical calculation that I did just now, taking this amount minus this amount divided by the miles itself, ladies and gentlemen, you get 2.5 cents effectiveness for the economy class ticket, and you get a 4.3 cent effectiveness for a business class flight itself. So I hope I built the principle here that in general, miles get better mileage if you always redeem a business class flight. But granted, 107,000 miles is a very, very challenging amount to meet. And of course, you should use miles in any way that you want. I'm just giving you the number and the mathematics behind this. So looking at all of this, and somebody just messaged me and asked me whether you have the slides. I'll give you guys a slide after you do the post survey that will be sent out by Luma or something. Don't worry. If you look at this, ladies and gentlemen, this is my magic number. My magic number that I use for my decision matrix for how much I should pay for a mile to generate or to redeem a mile or any purpose is this. My magic number is the worth of a mile is 2.1 cent all the way to 4.2 cents itself. Now, in the previous deck, I show you that if you take first class, it's 82 cents. Very effective, right? The chances of you taking first class, at least for me, is very rare. I do not need to take first class. So this is the logic behind why I believe a mile is between 2.1 cent to 4.2 cents itself. Couple items. Number one, zero desire to take first class. Lifestyle inflation is real. I have zero desire to take first class. I'm good, not ever trying first class. Business class is amazing for me already. It's also unrealistic for those of you who used Singapore Airlines before to believe that you can always get the lowest miles to redeem a flight. Okay, miles can also be transferred to other partners that have different value. So what does this magic number means for me? Ladies and gentlemen, this magic number means this for me. Today, there are so many options to buy miles from the airlines directly or from the credit card company through annual membership fee or things like PayAll itself. I will not buy a mile if it costs more than 2.1 cents. if I see an opportunity to buy a mile at say 1.6 cents per mile, I will buy it because it makes sense. It's a mathematical great calculation itself. I will not use it if it costs more than 2.1 cent. Same thing, I will not use it if a mile is worth less than 2.1 cents. What do I mean? Maybe Singapore to Bali, for example. Singapore Airlines on Singapore to Bali return is about $188 only. You use about 21,000 miles for a return airline ticket from Singapore to Bali. Your cost per mile only gets you 1.2 cents, yeah, ladies and gentlemen. It doesn't make sense to use it. So this is my barometer of success. I use the magic number of 2.1 cent. Sometimes I use 3 cents depending on scenarios as my barometer to either decide to buy miles when there's a great promotion on Citibank, okay, and think. I will answer the first question first, which somebody Joycelyn asked me. Why not use 0.09 cents and redeem miles itself? Use the miles for suites. And the answer is there's only 5 suites on the A380. The A380 doesn't fly to any of the US destination that I like going, other than the Frankfurt, New York flight. And once again, I do not have any desire to fly suites as well. Yeah, my lifestyle is already very inflated. Let's not make it even worse than it is today. So personal take. But if you are here for a big romantic trip with your husband or wife and you want to have a sweet experience, by all means, go ahead. If you can collect a lot of miles for a sweet experience on Singapore Airlines, I'm sure it is very worth it. I heard it's a once in a lifetime experience, and know that you are getting 9 cents for every mile that you use itself. Such a good value for you itself, if that is something that you want to do itself. Somebody pinged me, if there's no suites to LA, how is that possible? To clarify, the suites is on the SQ to Narita, and then from Narita upwards to LAX itself. So there is a suite, but it's a 777 suite, and it's not really first class, it's not suites, but it's first class. Just to answer that person's question. Okay, so then, now that you have established, or at least if you buy my logic of the magic number of 2.1 cents, you also need to compare against the other option, right? I told you just now that you have 3 options to play the game in Singapore, right? So this is my logic behind it itself. Now, if we compare it with not making anything here, I'm sorry I cannot help you. Yeah, this is just a silly thing to do, right? If you use a debit card all the time, and don't generate miles on it just because you like using the design of the debit card itself, by all means go ahead, but nothing I can help you here itself. But if you are a rational person, let me give you 2 scenarios. Now, these are best case scenario, worst case scenario. Your actual usage will vary a lot. But let me help compare the value of a cashback card versus a mile card, both in the best case scenario and the worst case scenario. I will talk about the worst case scenario first because it's more fun. Okay, so let's talk about the worst case scenario. Now, worst case is very simple. You are a lazy individual or you just do not want to be like me who have 25 credit cards and decide every single day and think about which credit card to use. You just tell me, Ivan, I just want 1 credit card. I do not need to think about it, and I'll use that credit card for everything in my life, right? I just charge everything with it. If that is you, this is the worst case scenario. Nothing wrong between the worst and once again, nothing wrong between the worst and the ideal case. Yeah, some of you have way more important job than me, and it's probably more logical for you to not think about miles as much as I think about miles because it's part of my job as well. But if you are in this case where you don't want to think too much, let me give you why even in the worst case scenario, using a miles card makes more sense for you itself. Now, in a worst case scenario means you use 1 card only. The best card to use for cashback is the American Express True Cashback card. Every single thing you buy, except certain items, gets you 1.5%. Regardless of whether you spend $100 or $1,000 or $10,000, you get 1.5% back unlimited. So, assuming you spend $100 on a cashback card itself from American Express, okay, $100, and you get 1.5% back, you have $1.50. That means that you make $1.50 from your $100 purchase itself. Now, if you're lazy, I recommend the let me not use the word recommend. I give you the scenario of the City Prestige card. The City Prestige card before a City Gold multiplier gets you 1.3 miles for every dollar. That means that for every $100 you spend, you get 1.3 mile. And as I told you, the lowest value of a mile is 2.1 cents, assuming you redeem for economy class flight to Japan itself. So, ladies and gentlemen, the value you get out from that purchase becomes a grand total of $2.73. This is, generally speaking, a 75% improvement on your card usage than if you don't use the card itself, right? Like it's a marked improvement versus a cashback card itself. Now, let's talk about the best case scenario then, which is what all of us are here for, right? This is where the number gets very, very interesting, right? In the ideal case scenario where where no, okay, so let me answer one question first. My friend Cass asked me, "Hi, hope your kid's doing well. Why don't I use the same ratio between these two scenarios? In the ideal case scenario, I'm saying that I'm very deliberate about generating my miles. In the ideal case means you actively optimize all your purchase, whether you're a cashback person or you're a miles person, and you only redeem business class flight. So once again, your mileage varies. I hope you go take this thing and calculate on your own basis what you feel comfortable with. But yes, in the ideal case scenario, if I have chosen a complete cashback game itself, the CIMB Visa signature gets me 10% cashback on all online shopping itself. That means that for $100 I spend, I get $10. Not bad. But the same purchase, if I use my DBS Women's Card, I get 4 miles on online shopping, okay, generating 4 miles here times 4.2 cents because I only want to redeem it for a business class flight. And the value I generate is $16.80 essentially itself. Of course, if you change to 2 cents itself, the items will pair back. So once again, your mileage varies and your scenario of things itself changes based on your own, how much hard work you want to do and how much you want to play and game this system itself. Okay? Now, once again, somebody asked again, can I get this deck? Sure, but feel free to take a screenshot as well if you really, really want to take time to look at my numbers itself. So, ladies and gentlemen, in summary of all of this thing that I talk about, is that in nearly every scenario, you earn more with a mouse card itself. But there's, of course, triple star here itself. And the triple star is this. Miles card only makes sense if you generally like to travel and you want to travel in business class. Honestly speaking, I have done some simulation. If you just want to take economy class flights and you are not hard up about dates, meaning you will only buy the cheapest possible flights, you will wait for the correct time, you don't have to die fly in December. Honestly speaking, there is a business case to be made for a cashback card itself. The cashback you generate through a lot of optimization probably makes more sense in savings than actually how much you can gain from the miles system itself. Okay, so these are the 3 conditions, right? You must like to travel, you must be flexible with it. Personal story here, I'm a PPS member, that is Singapore Airlines tier above the Star Alliance. It's not above the Gold Elite member, but it's just a different tier for people who fly a lot of business class. I have never once gotten a waitlist confirmed. Yeah, it is not true that PPS customer get waitlist confirmed. I have a friend here who just messaged me. He's a PPS Solitaire customer. Maybe for the Solitaire customer, they have a different set of rule, but as an average PPS customer, I have never once gotten a waitlist confirmed. Yeah. So my point is this, yeah. If you're on Singapore Airlines website and you see the word waitlist here, just treat it as you will not get it. Yeah. It's not worth your time to think about that itself. Yes. Okay. Wilson. Okay, let me answer a few. Yes, and okay, let me answer all the PPS question straight away. Okay. Once again, PPS is rare. Yes, completely. So I'm coming from a very privileged position. That's one. Number two, how many flights does it take to get PPS? PPS starts at $25,000 spent on business class or first class ticket with Singapore Airlines only. You cannot pay for economy class. You must be $25,000 spent annually on Singapore Airlines to get PPS membership itself. Okay, this is a whole rabbit hole by itself, and let's not go into this rabbit hole itself. Okay, and last but not least, do not ever use the miles for the bank reward website. Sometimes Citibank, UOB, they'll send you this thing say use your points and exchange for Apple product at 30% premium or special rate itself. It generally does not make sense. Your best leverage when you collect miles or points or whatever the bank want to call it is redeeming flights itself. If you use it to redeem their free stuff on their website, in general, it never makes sense. You can calculate yourself. Go to the UOB website today. UOB has a special partnership with Apple. You can use your uni points to redeem Apple products. You'll realize that it works out to be about 1.5 cents per mile itself. You are using 1.5 cents, which once again, if you go back to the cashback slide, you will have been better off just using a cashback card and not having to worry about all of this itself. So ladies and gentlemen, this is showing you a lot of information as well. Give me 10 more minutes before I open the Q&A itself. You guys seem to have so many questions already. Okay, but this is the constraint. If you're with me, let's talk about cuts then. All right, so I'm going to open another poll in a while. This is my last part before I open up for Q&A itself, because I think it's just so interesting itself. Okay, so which mount cut should you choose? I didn't spend a lot of time in this, because I probably want to leave this for another session, just because this is so nuanced itself, and because of time, and I just know we have so many questions to get through. Now, let me first talk about things itself. I told you in the EDM that I'm able to, when we send out this EDM, I'm able. I told you about 1.5 million miles. I generate 1 million miles in 2024. Okay, so this is my real number. I generate 1.078 million miles. I track this rigorously, not because it's my job now, but it's just fun for me. I transfer 450k miles from my credit cards to the different airlines. I redeemed 11 flights last year on business class for my wife and for my parents. We went to Tanzania, the US, and a whole bunch, and Japan as well, for a whole bunch of places itself. Of course, I didn't use all of last year miles itself. I had miles from previous year during COVID and stuff like this. But my point being, out of my most flight last year, 11 of them was redeemed on thing, and I did no buying on payoff for financial year or calendar year 2024. Okay, now is this realistic for a Singaporean person? And ladies and gentlemen, I just want to say this is not. I have access to non-Singapore cards because of my education abroad and because I used to work abroad, that I still keep those credit cards legally itself. So I'm able to generate more miles in other ways that, generally speaking, a Singaporean card holder cannot generate. So I'm sorry if you came to this seminar and think about how to generate 1 million miles. I'm so sorry. That is probably not realistic. Okay, what is realistic is this. This is probably the best slide I can give you guys. These are the top 6 cards in Singapore that you should be thinking about itself. Now, once again, I'll give you a few more rules later. But here's a few more. Let me give you a few rules first, okay? Ladies and gentlemen, now the rules of this is that, at least for me, and being very prudent, you should never spend for the sake of earning miles. Okay. Today there's a lot of promotion that say, oh, go to Expedia, and instead of buying, sorry, let me not use Expedia. If you go to a travel portal A, instead of going to Singapore Airlines, you get 6 miles. If you buy on travel portal A itself. Versus on Singapore Airlines, you get 2 miles. But in exchange for that, you pay, say, $60 more on Travel Portal A. I generally don't encourage people to do that. You should never spend for the sake of earning miles. This should be part of your lifestyle, in the sense that you're already spending money online, eating stuff, and doing stuff. This is just optimizing the game. If you are purposely spending money to get more miles, you probably will not work out for you in the long run, because you are adding financial burden to yourself itself. That's one. Number two, you should not change your lifestyle habits for miles. Singapore Airlines recently have this app called KrisPay. KrisPay gives you special reward for 8 miles per dollar for certain restaurant. If I want to eat Chinese restaurant Y, you should go to Chinese restaurant Y. Yeah? Just because Singapore Airlines give you a special promotion to eat at Chinese restaurant Z for 8 miles per dollar, but the food sucks, you should not, because of that, get your whole family to eat at restaurant Z and feel bad about the food, but feel happy about 8 miles per dollar. Yeah, you should not do that. Yeah, it's just not a great way to live. Yeah. And last but not least, please redeem your miles. The problem with Singaporeans, because we are such a good savers, we love saving miles. I know so many friends with like 200, 300, half a million miles. Don't use it. Every 18 months, Singapore Airlines change the miles redemption guide, meaning they increase the number of miles per redemption. So the longer you keep your miles, the worse it gets. Yeah. So don't hoard miles. Yeah. If you are playing this game, you should also use it. So I hope you guys take this let's not treat this as financial advice, but at least this is the principle that I live by itself. So back to the question, what is the realistic amount a Singaporean can generate every single month if you are a very high income earner and you really like spend money? So the realistic amount, ladies and gentlemen, is about $8,600 at the most optimized rate possible itself. If today you and your husband are spending about 800, sorry, Freudian slip, if you and your spouse is spending about $8,600 a month on all your expenses itself, you can probably look at optimizing it a bit at 4 miles per dollar to generate you every single month 34,000 miles, giving you an annualized amount of 412,000 miles itself. This is not, once again, realistic, yeah? I want to preface this, yeah? The average Singapore median household income per working adult is $6,500 itself. You should not be purposely spending $8,600 on things. I'm just saying that if you are a high income family and you're very lucky and very blessed, you can probably optimize it if you're spending above $8,600 to generate about 412,000 miles on an annualized basis. This will give you and your spouse a redemption return flight from Singapore to Los Angeles or Seattle or San Francisco itself, if that's what you want to do itself. Okay, I'll go back to this slide in a short while itself. People ask me why. Why are Singapore banks so horrible in giving miles itself? The reason is this. Singapore banks run a cap-based miles program. In other countries, especially the US, there is no cap-based. That means that if you have, say, card X, every single thing you spend on card X, you can get 3 miles per dollar unlimited. In general, Singapore banks do not do this. They give you up to $1,000 usually or $2,000 a month on a specific item you can buy itself that will give you 4 miles. And the moment you cross that level, it becomes 0.4 miles or something horrible itself. That's one reason. And number two, in Singapore, many items do not earn miles. Government services by education, for example, if you're paying for your university education in any of the 5 local university, all those purchases for master's program, degree program do not earn miles. Donation to your favorite non-profit do not earn miles. Paying for public hospital medical bills do not earn miles. But if you go to a private doctor like Mount Elizabeth, Thomson Medical, you do earn miles. Topping up your favorite cashback card like the Revolut card, GrabPay card, do not earn miles itself. And last but not least, sad to say, insurance payments in general, with one exception, do not earn miles itself. One of you just messaged me which insurance allowed miles. Of course, I'll talk about that later. Don't worry, I'll share with you guys about that in a short while itself. So this is the reason why miles in Singapore is a bit different itself. Now, one of you actually in the chat, how about other countries like Malaysia? It all depends. In countries where regulation is very strong, like Japan, like Australia, like New Zealand, in general, you can earn very little miles because the government takes a very proactive stand to restrict credit card fees itself. In Singapore, there is not much restriction on credit card fees, and this is why you can make miles itself. And of course, in the US, the extreme itself. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about it itself. What are the other ways to generate miles itself? The other way to generate miles is, of course, taking the plane itself, taking Singapore Airlines and stuff. Let me just say, this is one of the worst way to generate miles, yeah. So my point is this, yeah. Let's say you have 2 possible flights from, say, Singapore to Taiwan. One is on EVA Airline and one is on Singapore Airlines itself. Singapore Airlines is $300 more expensive than EVA Airlines. And you're like, okay, I shall take Singapore Airlines because I want to be loyal to Singapore Airlines and because I can earn miles. Let me just say, in general, it doesn't make sense, yeah. Loyalty program game is to hook you to the same airline. But if you're not traveling for work, long term, it doesn't make sense. Just look at this table, yeah. On Singapore Airlines, most economy class seat that you and I will buy will probably be class K. This means that it's the cheapest possible fare. The cheapest fare means you cannot change the date, you cannot do anything with it. All right, it's a horrible fare, but it's very cheap. You earn 50% of the miles itself. Now, if you say, I want to spring and pay for Singapore Airlines business class, look at this. You only get 125% of the miles, yeah? So from a Taipei TPE route itself, if I'm not wrong, I think this is a 2,500 miles journey. On economy class, you will make 1,250 miles. And then on business class, you will make, say, 3,000 miles. This is horrible, yeah? 3,000 miles, what can it get you? Nothing, right? Nothing, yeah? If you remember my math, 3,000 miles times 2.1 cent, for example, how much is that worth only? It's worth very, very little, yeah? It's literally worth, so ladies and gentlemen, flying Singapore Airlines, and being loyal and taking the business class flight earns you a grand total of $6.30 from Singapore to Taipei for your loyalty to be a PPS customer on Singapore Airlines itself. It sucks, yeah. You generally speaking cannot earn miles by being a loyal to an airline. So my other advice here, at least I follow this, is that as long as it's a full service carrier, because I don't want to take a budget carrier, it generally doesn't pay to be loyal to an airline itself. What some of you, if you're in corporate travel like me, you have aspiration to be a PPS customer. I got it once. I'm happy. I got the PPS luggage tag. Those of you who know knows. And I'm very happy my PPS luggage tag with my embroidery name Ivan Chang. And I'm happy with it already. I'll be losing my PPS status in literally February because SQ status runs on February schedule. I'm okay losing my PPS status, yeah? I'd rather be optimizing for miles and not be blindly loyal to a specific airline itself. Okay, the other questions I'll answer in a short while because it's getting very interesting itself. Please bear with me, give me about 10 more minutes, and then I will go on itself. So it's time to ask you my final poll for the day. Let me launch the poll, and then we can give you guys some tips, and then I can give you guys back your time. So what is your current miles game plan? Okay, great. I see the payments people telling me they have all multiple, it's all optimized, it's great. What's there left to do, yeah? Wow, you guys have a lot of cards here, yeah. Okay, so I see there's a bunch of our end poll. Thank you so much, everyone. Once again, I see a bunch of you are newbies to the card game. So, every advice, I just want to, I just didn't finish all the decks in this next slide. I'll send out a more revised one once you finish this itself. But, let me just end this and answer all your questions live and talk about two things that people ask me about, which is wedding and home renovation itself. So, how should you be thinking about your miles journey itself? Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think it's just three very easy steps. Even before you start, okay, before you start, you don't tonight after this go and apply a new credit card, yeah. Even before you start, okay, you need to know what you're spending on itself. Okay, I cannot stress the importance of this. If you do not know what you are spending on every single month, and you just like, oh, let's hope in this, you cannot choose the correct card. The worst thing you want to do is have multiple credit cards, get confused with the different credit cards you have, and then feel frustrated, and then you have miles everywhere, left, right, center, okay? Let me just say, the first step is sit down and be very clear about what you spend your money on itself. And this is also where, I really want to talk to you guys about my wife. A lot of you know, but for those of you who do not know me, my amazing wife, her name is Estelle. She's the top 5% of her industry in the financial planning space. If you are interested in planning a budget for yourself or your family and talk about the miles game itself, after this, I'll give you a LinkedIn contact. Or actually, I can show it up in a short while. And you can reach out to her and, she will be able to give you things. I know you will think I'm biased, But some of you here are already her clients as well. Honestly, this is me personally vouching for her that even if she's not my wife, she's really one of the better or the best financial person I work with in my entire career as well. And why? You say, oh, Ivan, you're so mechanical, right? You can invest on your own. You understand S&P 500. You're a CFA certification holder. First, investing is a muscle. It seems easy, but you and I both know if you tell yourself, oh, every month I'll save $300 to buy stocks, the actuality of you doing it is near zero. Investing is a muscle, and you need to build that muscle itself. It's very easy to say, I commit to this plan, but nothing beats having a firm signed document to keep you on track for both your financial goals and your life plan itself. Number two, you should also protect your downside. This year alone, I had two, in 2024, I had two travel emergency. Some of you guys know I lost my luggage I lost my luggage in France. It's notorious. But more importantly, when I was coming back from Los Angeles, not in November, but in October, I was caught in a sandstorm fire itself. So I was traveling from my home in Los Angeles to the airport. I was stuck in a firestorm in the Santa Clarita Valley. It was so bad that the fire engine folks, the fire patrol, needed me to abandon my Tesla on the roadside and then take an emergency shuttle and evacuate to Bakersfield in between California. That was how bad the fire is in October. November fire, the current disaster is 10 times worse. But just imagine. For those of you who want, I have the video. It's very scary. But as you can imagine, the rental car is gone. I don't know where the Tesla is. I'm really thankful for having all those downside protection in case anything happens to me in a fire. When you can actually feel the heat of the fire next to you burning in San Francisco, in Los Angeles, that's where shit really hits the fan, yeah. And you really want to have your downside and your loved one protected. And last but not least, something to build on to your thing itself. Okay, and of course, something very fun. You get this monthly update and investment advice that she can legally provide to you guys as well. So I'll give you guys this QR code again later for those of you who want to reach out to her. Now, one thing I talked to you guys about is that can you get miles with insurance? And yes, Prudential, if I'm not wrong, based on my research, is the only insurance agent in Singapore that has a special tie-up with Standard Chartered Bank card. There's a special Prudential Standard Chartered card that gives you miles for insurance. Now, does it make sense? The miles earning is horrible, but if you're already paying for insurance, you might as well make something from the insurance payment as well, yeah? That is the only card in Singapore that I know of based on MCC code reading that pays you miles for insurance. If you want more information, Estelle is the best person for you to reach out to. Add her on LinkedIn, and she can have the conversation with you further. Okay, I'll pause here for 30 seconds before I move on to the next slide itself. Okay, let me answer one since I'm on this slide. Benjamin, hi Ben, been a while. Benjamin asks, you can use Payall for insurance expense. Yes, but Benjamin, you're paying money for Payall, yeah? The current rate for Payall is 2.3% service fee, yeah? So that means, that you are paying a fee for Payall itself. When Citibank runs the promotion, sometimes I'm lucky enough to get it at 1.1 cent, but most of the time, it costs about 2.5 cents to generate the mile. As I said before, the mile, if you use on economy class, is only worth 2.4 cents, yeah? So if you're using Payall to generate miles for business class flight at 4 cents, go ahead, it's a great thing to do. But if you are using Payall to generate miles to redeem economy class flight, you generally do not get your money's worth in that context itself unless there's a special promotion itself. Okay, so consider the Standard Chartered card with the Prudential insurance. Now, give me 5 more minutes. I finish the next few slides first. Okay, step 2, you bucket. Thanks, Calvin. I didn't know about the Maybank card itself. I'm not a Maybank customer for some reason, but I'll look into that later. Let's bucket the spending. So in general, these are the 6 items that you can earn miles at 4 miles per dollar in Singapore. Okay, these are the 6 items that you can earn 4 miles per dollar, which is the most optimized rate. Sometimes you can earn 6 miles per dollar. Let's not go into all the finite detail. If you are very interested, most of you have my WhatsApp number. I'm happy to have the conversation with you after this call is over. But let's just, for the purpose of today's class or webinar, let's talk about the 4 miles per dollar. Online shopping. if you're buying something online, that is not education or something related like this, you probably can earn 4 miles per dollar. Transportation, especially Grab. Okay, especially Grab, Gojek, Tada. Travel, when you buy hotels, when you take a flight or you buy a flight. Shopping, okay, but online as well, okay, specifically online, okay, not a very big category. Food, most of us will be in the area of food, and when you spend foreign currency itself, FCY itself, okay? I will answer the questions later on the foreign currency stuff, but these are the 6 buckets that you can generally share itself, okay? I will give also an Excel template that breaks down all the cards, but let me just go back to at least my personal favorite cards that I use itself. Between me and my wife, I have the Citi Rewards paired with the Amaze, $1,000 a month, up to $1,000 a month. You get 4 miles per dollar on nearly anything that you can tap your card to, except buying an airline ticket. Okay, this is where you have to do a lot of homework, and the Excel sheet that I'll share with you will have all this information, so you can have a quick preview to get it itself. I'll add in Calvin's recommendation, which is the Maybank card. The UOB Visa Signature, $2,000 cap on contactless purchase or on foreign purchase, but minimum spend $1,000 a month. The UOB Solitaire card, 6 different category. I recommend travel. I recommend dining and transport. The DBS Woman, $1,500 on all online purchases, generally speaking. The UOB Preferred Visa Credit Card, $1,100. And a shopping cart. What's a shopping cart? There are a couple of shopping carts. If you're shopping online a lot, like Lazada, Taobao, Shopee, the HSBC Revolution or the Amaze card pair with the OCBC Rewards card are the good mix here itself. Once again, I'll share an Excel sheet, and I don't want to go into detail of which cards here because you'll just get really, really crazy. The goal here is to give you a framework and to give you the value of a mile itself. Okay, so now let me answer all your many questions while I put you on this page in case you guys want my LinkedIn or you want Estelle LinkedIn. Let me start first with wedding banquets. Okay, let me start first with wedding banquets. I'm very happy to see some of my mentees here. I cannot wait to attend your wedding itself. Please invite me if you have the chance to. I promise I'll be a very nice guest. But if you are getting married soon, a wedding package in Singapore, $40,000 to $50,000 with the hotels. Most, if not all, the hotels will allow you after the initial deposit to do monthly payment itself. That means you go to the hotel and you tap your credit card and you give them a monthly payment itself. This is where most Singaporeans can earn a free honeymoon itself. If you use the UOB Signature card, the UOB's and the UOB Preferred Platinum card, between you and your wife, you can pay about $6,000 a month. You will be able to generate 4 miles per dollar. And if you don't mind opening a specific saving account, you can make about 6 miles per dollar for wedding banquets itself. When I got married at the Intercontinental with Estelle, we did that. Every single month, I diligently went to Intercontinental with 6 different credit cards to tap as well. I want to clarify something. If your wedding banquet is in a restaurant, I know some of you are getting married in like Jiang, Ming-Er, it's easier. A restaurant is considered dining. If you're getting married in a hotel, it's usually under the travel category or a special MCC code. So be very careful about the hotel code itself. If you don't dare, very simple. Do a small transaction first, call the bank itself after you make the transaction and ask the bank whether is it making 4 miles per dollar. You are going to spend $70,000 on a wedding banquet, you might as well maximize it out itself. $70,000 on a typical wedding banquet will, let me just calculate for you quickly, will get you 280,000 miles, which is more than enough for a couple to take a return flight to Japan on business class return itself. Okay, so that's the economics of it for the banquet side itself. Renovation and home furnishing is the next big thing. Most ID in Singapore will not accept credit card for obvious reason. They don't want to pay the 3% or 2% that they have to pay in service fee. What is very concerning is that there are many new companies, including Payor, CardUp, or at least concerning to me as a finance person, that offers you a way to pay this company using a credit card, but in exchange for a fee. They will tell you if you use CardUp or if you use this program, you link your credit card, they will give you miles, which they really can give you miles legally to sell, but you pay a service fee. Does it make sense? It depends. Once again, you have to go back to this slide here, which is your magic number itself. Okay, if you can easily calculate, let's say the finance company say, oh, to make miles, you need to pay me 2% service fee. 2% of the transaction is a miles per dollar. Then you calculate divided by the number of miles you can generate. Does it make sense? If it doesn't make sense more than 2.1, if it costs you more than 2.1 cents, you probably are better off foregoing it and not earning miles on it itself. The interesting one is when you buy home appliances itself. Now, the problem with all of these credit cards is this, when you use all these credit cards, as you remember, there's a cap. So what if you're buying a new Samsung TV that costs you $3,000 itself? Then a bit silly, right? If you buy the Samsung TV $3,000 itself, the first $2,000 you make 4 miles, but the next $1,000 you only make 0.4 miles. That is not a very good thing to do, right? That's the problem with the Singapore e-commerce website. If you buy on e-com in Singapore, like Lazada, Shopee, Amazon.sg, they don't allow you to split the payment. American website allow you to use multiple credit cards to split the payment so that you can use different cards to optimize it out itself. So what can you do? Very simple. You go to Harvey Norman and you ask them to give you an online payment link by different payment methods. Or you buy in store using a specific credit card itself. Harvey Norman has been known to do that. You tell them, I want to buy the $3,000 TV, but I want you to send me payment in 2 links, $1,000, $1,500, and $500. Can they do that? Yes, they can. All right. But once again, make sure that it's not more expensive than buying on Lazada or Shopee, because you should still not spend money for the sake of generating money itself. Another company, another merchant that allows you to do this is if you're buying an Apple laptop. If you're buying an Apple laptop, you do not need to go to the Apple store. You can call Apple Singapore Retail Center and they will let you use multiple credit cards to pay for your item. You can say, I want to buy the MacBook. The MacBook costs $2,600. Can I use 2 credit cards to pay? Over the phone, they can do it, but make sure that it's an online transaction or it's in the correct category of purchase itself. That is another possibility for home renovation, or at least what I do itself thing. Okay, let me now answer all the questions and then we can call it a day. And I hope all you guys enjoy the session itself. First thing Cass asked, next class is on PPS. No, there's really no point for PPS. I can show you my luggage tag. I'm very proud of it, but yeah. Now, Patrick asked flight upgrades, buying economy and using miles to upgrade to premium economy. I have done the math before. It usually is below 2.4 cents. You can, very simple, go to SQ website, do a few try, meaning see how much a business class flight costs, see how much the economy flight class costs, compare the difference. It generally doesn't make sense. Singapore Airlines is very restrictive on miles upgrading, and it generally doesn't make sense. On top of that, my understanding is that the allocation for upgrade seats are different for full redemption seats. So there's a different system altogether. At least in my personal experience, it doesn't make sense. And because I prioritize taking business class flight only, I'd rather have the assurance that I can take a business class flight than suffer through economy to Los Angeles itself. Okay, next question. Which overseas credit card I'm using? Honestly speaking, because I have access to 4 overseas credit cards itself, I generally use my overseas credit card from American companies itself. American banks, overseas credit card do not have a foreign currency fee and allows me to use the overseas card at spot exchange rate. Today, if you use a UOB signature, we give you 4 miles per dollar, which is great, but you have to pay a 3.25% service fee. So it all depends. You have to calculate the 3.25%. We can go into detail in another session, and then you have to calculate whether is it worth it itself. I'm lucky enough, I'll use it. But personally speaking, if I am traveling abroad, I generally honestly speaking until today, like using my Utrip card or using cash itself, just because it optimizes cost saving. Because once again, I generate more than enough miles. My job is to have a better cost of living for myself and not increase my expense itself. Yes, I missed the DBS U card. That's because DBS blocked me from applying credit cards already. Not because my credit score is bad, but because I apply so many credit cards and cancel so many credit cards, the U card was denied to me itself. So, personal reason, this is why I am not talking about the U card itself. But yes, it's a great card itself. What is a shopping cart? Answer that already. Great. Thanks to Joycelyn. If you are using Miles card, I didn't know that the SingHealth app allows you to get Miles itself. Thanks to Joycelyn. Here's another plug itself. If you don't wish to do, I am quite a privileged individual once again. I generally like having private hospital because I'm very used to it. So I don't have exposure to that. So it's time to revisit your plans if you want something different. So I'll talk to Estelle as well. Okay, let me just answer a few more things before I end it off. Just give me 5 more minutes. I know some of you folks are dropping off. Benjamin asked, which mileage program do you recommend beside KrisFlyer? This is another 3-hour session itself. But Benjamin, in general, the other mileage program I recommend from a Singaporean perspective, if you have to fly from Singapore, is Cathay Pacific and EVA Airlines. Why? Because these are the two airlines. I mean, it doesn't make sense for you to redeem miles to go Japan via EVA. Like, you don't want to fly 4 hours to Taipei, then take another 3-hour flight to Tokyo. Yeah, that will be a crazy flight. Yeah. So I'm assuming that when you redeem miles, it's for holidays with your loved one to very far off destination like Europe and US. In those cases, the best airlines for Singaporeans is Cathay Pacific and for EVA Airlines. Why? In general, Cathay Pacific has a very generous miles policy, meaning there's a lot of seats available for their business class redemption. And on top of that, you don't have to redeem Singapore, Hong Kong, London. It's considered as Asia to London. And in exchange for this, you can also take a free 2-day stopover in Hong Kong or in Taipei itself. So this is why I recommend Cathay Pacific and EVA. Take some time to look at it. It's usually a good program from a Singaporean perspective itself. Now, another one that you saw me love is Istanbul itself. I love Istanbul. I love Turkish Airlines. Let me just say that Turkish Airlines is a great airline if you want to redeem miles. You can find most of their flights available for redemption because Turkish Airlines makes money from the miles program very differently from Singapore Airlines. Just now you saw my chart. Singapore Airlines only charges you $60 for airport taxes and fees. Basically, when SQ run their KrisFlyer program, it's an all-in price. The miles you use you pay only the things that they had to pay to other people, like the government of Singapore and CAAS for using Changi Airport. Turkish Airlines has a very good miles program because you can easily find things to redeem, but the fees are crazy. For example, Singapore to Istanbul only requires 60,000 miles on business class, but the service fee is $550. In essence, in Turkish Airlines eyes, they are running the miles program as a complete currency altogether. Miles that they make from selling you miles plus the $550 equals to the same flight price itself. So be very careful. Don't get happy the moment you see a very cheap redemption. There's usually asterisk. A lot of the cheap flight redemption tickets tend to come with very high service fee because they run it as a currency system itself. Shushi asks, does it pay to be loyal to the same alliance? In general, my opinion is no. Let's talk about PDS. Yeah, if you are loyal to other airlines, including Turkish Airlines, which I have a loyalty program with at the highest tier, they do give you free upgrades occasionally. Yeah, never in my life have Singapore Airlines just because I'm Star Alliance Go give me anything. So in general, no, I don't believe so. Itself answered this already. Wilson asked, why is Prudential the only tie-up itself? I have no idea. You need to ask my wife on this. I'm just telling you based on what I know when I did the research on this itself. Okay, thanks to Kevin for answering the Maybank Horizon card itself. Patrick, answer your questions already. Okay, just 3 more questions and I'll finish it up. Cass, once again, nice to meet you. Do you pay annual fees for your credit cards? The only credit card fees that I currently pay based on my usage is my Citi, if I'm not wrong, I can't remember, in my Citi Prestige card itself. I have a very specific purpose for having my Citi Prestige card. That is not to make miles per dollar, but that's to tag with my Citigold account for other purposes itself. So I pay the membership fee, but it kind of balance out for me. Most of the other cards that I put on the screen just now allows you to waive off your annual card fee if you are spending at a certain level of card fees itself. I can't remember for DBS Woman. You had to open my Excel sheet to check because I wrote this down in my Excel sheet itself. Tristan, how about delivery, gynae, pediatric at Providence Hospital? Yeah, you generally make miles on that itself, but you're probably not going to make 4 miles per hour unless you can ask Mouth Avenue to send you the payment via an online link itself. Possible? You just need to ask before. Fun story, I once used a wrong credit card at a very nice Michelin restaurant in Singapore. The payments group knows this. So I used my wrong credit card because I was trying to go in. The next day, I went back to the same restaurant and told them, can you redo the transaction? The staff was very nice. The only thing was that the staff said he didn't know how to do it. So I said, don't worry, pass me your POS terminal. Yeah, the credit card terminal. It was a Citibank, it was a Citibank one. I took it, went back one day, canceled my own transaction, and repay for the same Michelin restaurant to optimize my miles itself. So the old saying goes, yeah, don't ask, don't know, yeah. So if you want to collect miles, don't need to feel shameful, yeah. Be proactive and ask for your miles itself. Can you use miles for other travel, like cruises itself? I heard there's an amazing cruise coming in December this year called the Disney Cruise Line Adventure. And I heard that you can actually redeem miles for cruise line on Pelagio.com itself, which is a division of Singapore Airlines itself. I have not calculated the economics of that, so go and check it out, Pelagio.com, and you can redeem it for the Disney Cruise Line itself. I heard it's one of the largest ships in Asia, if not the largest, and you get to have an amazing experience on board the ship, including 6-team experience zone and with an amazing fun activity for your kids and family alike. All right, and last but not least itself, Marcella, I'll give you the formula itself. Does it make sense to make you cut up? Very simple. Take the service fee they charge you times the amount, okay, and then divided by the number of miles the program gives you. I do not know the number of miles the program gives you. I'll message you privately on this, but in the Excel sheet, there's a simple formula for you to calculate this itself. All right, and I answered all the questions. Ladies and gentlemen, if anyone else have any other questions, especially for those of you who don't know me or Estelle, our LinkedIn are there. I invite you guys to connect with us. If there's something great, we are thinking of doing something else next month about whether buying an investment property makes sense itself. Hint, it doesn't so far. It doesn't seem to be. But watch out for that while we talk about that. It's fun. I'm not a property agent, obviously, so it's my own take on whether a property makes sense from a financial perspective. If there is something that you think is interesting for you, when I send out the survey, you can put it down so I can gauge interest itself. If not, thanks to all 136 of you for showing up. Have a great evening. Feel free to connect with me, and thank you all for hearing my little passion on miles collection. All right, good night, everyone. Welcome, Christina. Yes, Brandon, you want to ask me something? Welcome, Brandon. You guys can use the chat group, right? The chat is a chat function. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, I'll close the webinar now.